failure by the municipality, failure by the Durban Metropolis, failure by the South African Police Service. What are your thoughts on why these three organs of state are not doing anything about the violence, specifically the hitmen that are housed there?
KZN is the ANC stronghold. Some of the leaders in KZN ANC have interests. They have... Glebelands has... Look, let's go back. Can I just take you back to 2008?
Sure.
Okay. Firstly, I was told by several councillors who used to be with the ANC, when I think John Mkunu at the time was Premier, at that time, I'm not sure, I can't remember, but
no,
apparently he was...
No, John Mkunu was not Premier. He was a regional... He was a regional chair of the ANC.
Okay. Well, apparently he called a meeting and he said that the hostel budgets are going to be coming out soon. So he had invited ward councillors who had hostels in their wards. He invited them to this meeting and he said to them that the budgets are about to come out. Suggest you think about maybe opening your own businesses for construction or cleaning or security, and a lot of them did. Glebelands has always been an ANC stronghold. Corruption is very easy to hide when there's no opposition looking over your shoulder. Corruption at Glebelands, so far as we can't find out how bad it is or what exactly is going on. But we have been told that contracts are being used there awarded to politically connected individuals. In that way, the violence becomes self-sustaining, actually. Because the more violence is, the more you can justify security measures, CCTV cameras, there's now 67 there. Fencing, for once. Are you going to shoot someone inside and run outside the hostel? It's illogical. A lot of the things that have been put there are illogical. A lot of the development, so-say development, is not logical. So, sorry, what was your original question? I think I'm getting off the point.
No, you are not. You are still on track. The original...
Yeah, as I say, so, yeah, that's right. So, what I was told by not just one councillor, but several, the contracts that come to Glebelands, a section, or not only Glebelands, but other hostels as well, but mainly Glebelands because it's ANC. The ward councillor there, his position, it was important that he was retained in that position so that the contracts could be pushed through with no sort of difficulty. A section of that was supposedly channeled then to the ANC coffers, the ANC provincial coffers. And in so doing, it sort of became quite a good business, apparently. I am led to believe that the councillor does have quite a few residences. I say I wouldn't know. We did ask the public protector to look into this, to audit this, to see if this is true. We never got that, but hopefully it will happen one day. From there, there are also supposedly some companies that are directly connected to the ward councillor, and from the people who raised queries about sort of why are blocks, why are they being allocated to people from outside the province or outside of Glebelands, outside the area when there's people been on waiting lists for a long time. Why are the buildings cracking? That sort of kind of thing was taken as problematic, and that's why those people were targeted.
I'm just reminding of my original question. You are still on track. The question was, based on the public protector's findings, why is the eThekwini municipality, the Durban Metropolis, and the SAPS not doing anything
Yeah.
about the status quo. Let's move on. Give the Commission your thoughts on SEPs regarding Cleveland's. Because the assumption is that if the police are effective, the violence should decrease or be eradicated. What are your thoughts on the effectiveness of the police? Are they clean?
The police are not only not clean, they're actively involved in some cases. But also the police are not politically independent. And this whole thing is about politics and money. So from the provincial commissioner down, I mean, there is direct problems. Interference. Good police that were trying to do decent work, they got nowhere. Cases were interfered with. Fabricated statements were found in dockets. Statements from people that don't even exist. As I say, the original officer that I referred to was bringing guns in. There's been police guns used there, or army guns, R5s, R1s. That is not investigated. Also, bribery on a wide scale, not just politically linked. This was just opportunistic as well from some of the police on the ground. The police station that is right there, Umlazi SEPs, they are absolutely 100% discredited in the community's eyes. They have no credibility whatsoever. They've proved themselves to be a majority absolutely corrupt. And this is not only linked there either. It's also many, many instances of torture. As I say, theft, damage to property. The police are actually basically have been out of control. And the ones who are trying to do their job half the time, they are politically sort of smacked back down again.
Sorry, let's go to Exhibit D. The first deceased. Can you deal with that? The location of the incident and his name?
Senekile Fika.
Yes.
He was one of the block committee chairpersons.
Right.
He was taken by Umlazi SEP's detective and a few others, and they were taken to Isipingo satellite station or near Isipingo, and he was tortured, he was tubed. He had a heart condition, but it wasn't enough to kill him, unless he'd had a plastic bag shoved over his head, and that was what killed him. And that was reported to IPID. There were also three residents who were assaulted at the same time. They provided statements. There was interference from the police side at that time to try and mess this case up completely, and also from IPID's side. The case is not resolved. There's not been one arrest. There's been only 6 cases that have been reported to IPID because most people are too scared. They think they will be targeted by the police if they do report their torture. So most people don't.
I see from, you call it a case number, but it's actually a CAS number without an E.
Yeah, it's the same.
The incident occurred in March 2014.
Yeah, 13th of March.
And I'm saying to date that there has been no joy regarding his death.
No.
Despite IPID's involvement.
Yes. IPID is basically dysfunctional.
Why do you say so? Specifically about GLIP.
Well, we have instances of no police lineup for a year and a half, where witnesses need to identify the attackers, nothing. Evidence left for months, statements not taken, medical records left with pathologists for almost a year. Actually, I still don't know if it's been collected. Confusion of an epic proportion. I mean, a mess, literally. Myself and Mary de Haas were working on all of the cases that were reported to IPID extensively, following up. Each time you try and follow up, you find that something else has been messed up along the way. There's been no closure for the family, for Mr. Fika's family at all.
In respect of both the police and IPID, the issue of ineffectiveness, does it have anything to do with lack of resources?
Selectively, in certain instances in the police, yes, it does have to do with lack of resources. The task team of detectives at the moment that are investigating the Cleveland's killings, I think they have about 90 dockets or so at the moment, must do, and they've been reduced to 3. They don't have enough vehicles. They were sharing one vehicle between 3 officers at one stage, using their own cell phones. That's not good enough. This should be a priority. At Cleveland's there's been almost 3 times the number of people killed at Marikana, but we have 3 officers doing the investigations for the cases. It's absolutely astounding. So, in that case, yes, definitely. But for general police work, no, I don't think there's been too much of a lack of resources.
Competence?
Yeah, competence is a huge problem.
Why do you say so?
The current station commissioner at Umlazi SAPS is completely out of her depth. The cluster commander doesn't seem to be much better. She has no idea of what is going on in the area, who is responsible. I honestly don't think she knows sort of which way to turn anymore with this.
You also spoke about, with regard to the police, interference. You made the point that politicians are overall in charge.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on that regarding the police?
There's a reluctance, a marked reluctance to investigate anyone who is connected to the warlord, or the former warlord, the one that's now deceased, or his associates, or the hitmen. Yeah, that's carried on. That is changing. I must give the police their due. That is definitely changing, but only like really recently. And you would say, receive information that there's guns being moved from one block to another block, who's moving it, from which block, and sort of what guns they are, what time it's happening. You give the information through to the former cluster commander at the time, Major General Delisa, and he says to you, yes, no, going to have an operation. We'll get that. 2 days later, maybe, there might be an operation. By that time, the guns have gone, long time. Also, and that happened repeatedly. And I have records of every instance where that happened, where we had provided really good information, detailed information.
Sorry.
Not only with him, there were other officers as well.
Are your sources insiders?
Yeah.
Okay, proceed.
So also, some of them are apparently, as I say, seen talking to hitmen, taking money from hitmen, meetings with politicians.
On that point, you spoke earlier about a policeman who was residing there and was involved in criminality with hitmen and bringing guns. Was that brought to the attention of the police authorities?
Many times, yes.
Was anything ever done about him?
I believe he was under investigation.
And what became of it?
I don't know. I think the investigation seems to have hit a brick wall. I believe his vehicle was being tracked. and then he dumped it, and I have not heard any more since then. I don't know.
Let's move on to IPID. We were still on the ineffectiveness of IPID. Has it got to do with lack of resources?
Look, they
Competence?
certainly don't have enough investigators. They certainly don't. But there's no excuse in this case, no. It is, they are limited with the number of resources, and also the amount of cases that they're dealing with is huge. But this just seemed to be willful. There's no other word for it. Willful disregard for these cases.
In terms of IPID, what are your thoughts? Compare them to the police. Do you think there's any political interference at IPID?
In KZN, I think there's political interference in every government department. Everything is political in KZN.
What about nationally?
Probably, yeah.
The reason I'm asking is because we try and get the witnesses to compare what is happening nationally
Yeah.
to what is
Look, I
happening
think KZN
provincially.
is far worse. Our branch of IPID here is far worse. And we have some of the highest instances of police brutality and killings in this country, in this province. There has not been any officers arrested in all this time.
Let's go to Exhibit E. Sorry, before we move on to Exhibit E, Exhibit D is self-explanatory. Is there, nevertheless, are there any specific incidents of death that you would like to testify about based on Exhibit D? At random, you can make that decision.
Okay, Sipunduvela.
What number is he?
Uh, 28.
What about Sipunduvela?
He'd been receiving threats for some time. We had reported it directly to Brigadier Marion. And he was amongst a list of about 8, I think it was 8 people or so, who had been receiving death threats. His wife was receiving threats in the rural areas. He was told, "You will not seek court."
Let's get more detail based on Exhibit D. I see victim's origin, Lusigisig, Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
Is that where his wife was resident, or
Yes.
was she local?
Yes, no, in the rural areas. Yeah.
And you've got there under his name, murder witness.
Yeah.
Was he a witness in a murder?
He was a witness in a murder. Yes, he had actually witnessed the warlord's involvement in a previous murder, in Fikile Siepu's murder. Actually, he saw the warlord transport the hitmen to the scene of the crime. He saw the hitmen get off the vehicle. He saw the warlord drive behind the building, and then the hitmen came in and killed Fikile and a couple of others. He was injured during that incident. Because he was a witness, that's why he was being targeted.
Figile Siepu is number 23.
Yeah.
Okay, proceed back to Ndovela.
He'd made a statement to the police about what he had seen. He had mentioned the fact that the warlord had been driving a white bakkie with these guys, the hitmen, on. The police officer had told him that was irrelevant to the case. He must not include it in his statement. So he omitted it from the statement. I heard about it later. It was crucial. So we approached the head of detectives at Amlazi SAPS, myself, Mary de Haas, and we organized for SIPO to make a supplementary statement regarding this incident, because he was worried. He was saying, you know, this, it's not my whole statement. You know, this happened, but I was told to leave it out. He was very bothered with that. There were very few people who knew that he was going to make that supplementary statement, because no one was actually willing to testify against that warlord at the time, because he was so dangerous. So SIPO was taking a huge risk by doing this, and also he was trusting the police that they would protect him with this. He was never offered witness protection. Police lied that he was offered witness protection. He was not. We were begging for him to be offered witness protection. He was begging. The community leaders were begging for him to be offered witness protection. He also had a sort of a fabricated case brought against him, an attempted murder case. There are many people at Cleveland from the affected community. They were targeted by hitmen, they were evicted, and they were targeted for fabricated malicious charges. And that. So he appeared in court.
As an accused?
As he was, yeah, and his case was actually thrown out of court on that day.
The so-called false charge?
Yeah. He was about to leave court. Adam Lazi Magistrates Court, yes. And I'd been told that the case was concluded, and I was actually on my way to the court to fetch him, to take him to see the head of detectives at Amlazi SAPS. And I got a call, and I was told he's just been killed. So I was there within 10 minutes, and he was dead. And the head of detectives, who was supposedly going to take his statement.
The supplementary one?
Yes, he was on the scene. I tried to photograph the body and the scene, because I had started doing that, because there had been so many sort of mess-ups with the